What's up, YouTube? Scott's County Tradition back with another video. Got a big card in the mail yesterday, and I was gonna wait for a couple more cards, but let's just get into it. It's such a cool card. Uh, I was amazed when I saw it come up. I had actually two other fellow Packer collectors, including Joey Burkett, reached out as well and made sure I knew about this card, and I went after it, and I was able to get it. So very exciting for my collection. So let's just talk about the player first, and then we'll show the card. So the player is Johnny Blood McNally, and played for the Packers for 7 seasons back in the 20s and 30s. Played for 5 different teams in the NFL over a 14-year time span. So was a very prevalent player in the league in the 20s to the mid 30s. Johnny Blood was born in New Richmond, Wisconsin, and I believe. Basically, he was thought of as like the first big playmaker in the NFL, in the pro football. Certainly on the Packers during that time period, and then wouldn't be until Don Hutson where there was another big playmaker for the Packers. So Johnny Blood was that first big playmaker. George Halas, the Bears owner and coach, basically said one guy that could hurt you on one big play before Hutson was Johnny Blood McNally. So he was very highly thought of by everybody else. 2,500 yards receiving and 33 interceptions unofficially. This was kind of in that unofficial time before stats were being kept track of. But both of those numbers would have been best in the league from 1920 to 1934. So just a great athlete, great two-way player. Basically led the league in receiving yards and led the league in interceptions during that time. So pretty cool. And let's not forget, he was also a charter member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1963. So the Pro Football Hall of Fame thought highly enough to make him a charter member. All-time great receiver Don Hutson said, "I never saw a fellow that could turn a game around as quickly as Johnny Blood." And other teams he played for at the time, because he played for like 5 different teams. The Milwaukee Badgers, yes, they had a team. Duluth Eskimos and Pottsville Maroons are 3 of the other teams he played for. And I think he also played for the Pittsburgh Pirates, if I recall. They were actually a football team at the time. And so his real given name is John Vincent McNally, so John McNally, but he actually took on the name Blood when he saw it while driving by a marquee theater at the time, and he's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna call myself Johnny Blood," because he wanted to keep his college eligibility if he could potentially play more college football at the time. So his way of doing that was just to flat out change his name, which is kind of funny. And he would be known as the Vagabond Halfback. That was his nickname. The movie that I forget when it came out. I think it was in the '90s with George Clooney. It's called Leathernecks. A lot of that movie is based on Johnny Blood and his life and his career. But he was nicknamed the Vagabond Halfback because so this guy had some interesting stories now. Like, this is like the Rube Waddell of early pro football. So just super interesting guy. But he was called the Vagabond Halfback because he would always skip the fares on the train getting to practice. He would ride in between the train cars because he didn't want to pay the money for the fare. He was a bit of a daredevil, lived dangerously, liked to make a scene. So a lot of stories about him. A couple that I have here are that he was he was seen jumping across a 6-story high-rise in Los Angeles to get from one hotel to the other to avoid getting caught out past curfew. So that's one thing. Also, a famous towel fight with Lavi Dilweg, who was a borderline Hall of Famer and great Packers player in the 30s after the 31 championship game. Apparently, he upset Lavi Dilweg so much that he chased him out of a train, and Johnny Blood climbed the train and hid in the engine compartment the entire ride home from after that championship game. And of course, he was famously known for Curly Lambeau offering him $110 a week for a contract if he didn't drink. Basically, the contract was supposed to be for $100, but he offered him $110 if he would just not drink. And Blood's like, "No, I'm gonna drink. I'll take the $100 just to let you know." And apparently, Curly Lambeau thought so highly of his honesty that he paid him $110 anyways. But he let everybody know that he was definitely going to be drinking. So just an interesting guy, right? So Johnny Blood passed away in 1985 at the age of 82. Um, there are some things you can find signed of him. Typically, his signatures go anywhere from like $1,000 to 2,000. It can go pretty high depending on what medium the thing is signed on. There's not really many card options for Johnny Blood McNally. There's the 1974 Fleer Hall of Fame set, which is kind of an aftermarket set from his playing career, of course, and also the 1963 Stancraft playing cards, or two of the ones that I'm aware of that depict Johnny. There's also like some really old school stuff like the Packers premiums, Packers Walker's cleaners, and then also matchbooks, but those are not considered cards by most people. So when this came up, I decided to make an attempt at it because it's a Pop 1. There are none other graded or authenticated that I'm aware of, and was amazed that this was actually available. So let's get into the card. So here is an autographed copy of the 1963 Stancraft playing card of Johnny Blood McNally. That's what the back of the card looks like. They're either red or greenback. And I always wanted a Johnny Blood auto. As you can see, this one's signed John Blood McNally. But I was always kind of like, what medium am I going to find this thing on, right? Because I can get a kind of a index card, that kind of thing. Those are out there, but they're not super cheap either. But this combines both worlds that I love. Getting the Johnny Blood auto and the card. So I officially have a Johnny Blood auto card now on my Packer Team Hall of Fame autograph list. This was listed as the almost impossible category. So I was able to get it for what I thought was a reasonable price. I was actually willing to go quite a bit higher on it. But I got it for what I felt was fairly reasonable considering the scarcity. Obviously, being this is the only one that exists. So, I mean, just a beautiful example of this card. And I can't imagine getting another Johnny Blood auto. This is kind of the one. It's the perfect one for me in my collection. So, big time edition before the National comes up here. So, I had to jump on that one. And not only that, it goes perfect with a couple other ones I have here. I just mentioned this guy, Don Hudson. This is a 63 Stancraft of Hudson. I picked this up a few years ago from my buddy Manuel from Germany, who's a big Packers collector. And so I've had that one for about 2 years now. And then this one I've had for a little bit longer. This is the Curly Lambeau Stancraft autographed. So they have blood and Lambeau. Like, boy, it's hard to get better than this as a Packers collector. Just amazing to have those together. Also picked up another one. Picked up the Paul Hornung. That's coming in hopefully in the next week or two here. But I wanted to give Johnny Blood his own video because it's Johnny Blood McNally. And this is like a huge character, a huge player in Packers history. Not just for the accolades on the field. He was a charter member of the Hall of Fame, but his antics off the field make him a true character. And, you know, as human beings, we love stories, right? And there's plenty from Johnny Blood. That's all I got for you guys today. Have a great 4th of July weekend, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Thanks for watching.